Carl and Liam here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for sure. And it's tier list time. We're going to be ranking some games for you. We've had a little look and thought, you know what would be cool to look at? Metacritic. Because, of course, Metacritic is pretty reliable as an aggregate site. It combines scores across all media for specific games, totals them up, and this is basically a good example of what is considered widely to be some of the best games out there. So we thought we'd take the top 50 of Metacritic as of the time of recording, because of course that's fluid. In a year's time, that could actually be different. A new game might be in that list, something might have dropped, and so on. But as of right now, on Sunday, the 7th of July, this is the top 50 on Metacritic, and a mix of varied games indeed. We're going to be ranking them based off our personal opinions. Do we agree what we think are the best games? What's great? What's good? What's meh? And of course, because we may not have played all 50, some might end up in the never played. That might be something we want to correct further down the line, or maybe it'll just never happen. Who knows? Who knows? Yes, we're going to do 50 of these, starting with the number one game on Metacritic. Top of the list, it is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Does it need an introduction? Does it need an explanation? It is, of course, a classic game that is beloved by pretty much everyone that's kind of really played it. Some may see it as been surpassed in recent times. I still see it as the second best Zelda game I've ever played, but that's a personal opinion thing. I recognize as a design, it's technically the first. But yeah, it is. I think of it warmly every single time. I think it is more than deserving of its ranking as the best game. Maybe not all in the world of all, but certainly, you know, of an overall scoring thing. And in our list here, I would definitely put it in the best.
Yeah, I think it's a game that we obviously grew up playing, and I think for anyone that played it and did grow up playing it, it's one of those games where, like I said, maybe when you get into the technical details and talking about the best games of all time, like that's obviously very opinion based. But it, and maybe this isn't the best game ever, but I think it's one of those games that people say, oh, this is what's ranked number one on Metacritic. It's not one that many people are going to be like, well, it doesn't deserve to be there because I think it does. It does deserve to be spoken about in such high regard, you know. So for me, I'm happy to put that straight into the best.
We begin with that one. Okay, and number two. Now, this was a surprise to me, and I guess this is going to be the fun of this tier list. Soul Calibur, the very first Soul Calibur game. Now, I want us to be honest as well about certain things here. There's some games coming up that I've got to be brutally honest about, and this is a good example of it now. The first Soul Calibur game I ever played was Soul Calibur 4. Before that, I'd never played a single Soul Calibur. I enjoyed the shit out of Soul Calibur 4, but I never saw anything outside of a fun fighting game with a bit more fantastical elements coming off the back of playing things like Virtual Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Tekken. So I have no real basis to go on this. Even though I know, and here's the thing, that I kind of have to say this goes and never played because this is the first Soul Calibur, and while I've played Soul Calibur's layers, and I can't imagine it's that wildly different, it is a fighting game. I've never played the original Soul Calibur.
I haven't played it either, but as you said, it's quite a surprise to see it so high up. But and it as a fighting game, you know, there are some really great fighting games that came out in this time period. That another one is going to be on the list coming up that I hold in quite high regard. So I think it's definitely an interesting one to see that. And I don't think it's one that a lot of people would guess to see up so high. So I can only put it into never played, but yeah,
Yep.
interesting one.
It is a never played, I am afraid. Up to number three, and again, I was surprised to see this so high up, mainly by contrast to other entries in the series. It is Grand Theft Auto 4. I am a long-term Grand Theft Auto player. I go all the way back. I'm of a certain age. I go all the way back to the original Grand Theft Auto, and I have my favorite. I can tell you now, it's not 4. In fact, 4, while I did enjoy a lot of it, is not even top three for me personally. Um, but I did thoroughly enjoy it. Of course, I did. I sunk a shit ton of hours into it. Um, so I can understand why it's quite high up. It was such an advancement as well from because let's be honest, Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, they all sort of sit on the same level. 4 was a big step up above them. So that definitely is recognized, and you can certainly sink a lot of time into it. Not the best for me. I think this is a good game. Not even a great game. I think it's a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game has grown in people's estimations as time has gone on. You know, obviously we can get into how Rockstar, how long they've taken making Grand Theft Auto 6. So that seems to be coming now in not too distant future. But I think as much as I did enjoy 5, I think 5 actually made people appreciate this game a lot more. When I first played this game, I enjoyed it, but like you said, it didn't I didn't love it. But then I replayed it again on not long after, maybe a few years later, and I really appreciate it on a different level because I think like the story is like a really great story, and it's compared to what you get in 5, basically 5 has a fun, silly story, fun characters and this wackiness. This is a very serious story in 4, and it hits some really strong emotional moments. Nico is like a very like unconventional protagonist. He's not. So I thought they were a lot quite brave with choosing him as to be the protagonist and stuff like that. So, and like you said, this is basically like the Skyrim to the Oblivion in terms of Grand Theft Auto. That step up in the technical, improvements and everything. And I think it's surprising to see it so high, like number 3. But I wouldn't be surprised if this game has like got higher up in this list as time's gone on, because I think as more people go back and play it, it's getting like new appreciation. And I do think of it quite fondly, so I wouldn't put it in the best, but I would definitely. I think it goes into great, but that's just my opinion.
No, I'm gonna go along with. It was never going to take much to sway me because I am a big fan of it. But you put some great arguments there. I just need sometimes I just need to listen to you to sway me and knock me off that fence onto the right side. It is a great game. Super Mario Galaxy. So this was released on the Wii during a period. I never had a Wii. I never played a Wii, and I certainly didn't play any of the games that came on that or the Wii U. I would actually play Super Mario Galaxy eventually on my Switch when they released that triple pack of Super Mario 64, Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. For some reason, not Super Mario Galaxy 2, but that's another problem for later. So I have played this. The problem is going back to this, I didn't quite see what everyone was going nuts about, particularly because another Mario game had since come out, which I consider the best Mario game ever released. I still love Galaxy because I love all Mario games. Find me a bad Mario game and it doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. So I don't think, I guess, have you played this?
I have played some of it because I did have a Nintendo Wii back in the day, and this was one of the games that I had on it, and I played maybe a few hours, but then I sold my Wii. But
Fair enough.
based on my memory of it, I remember it being a lot of fun. That's and really colorful and Mario, and it had like a lot of the ability to like jump to different planets and stuff like that. It was really cool. Some really like new interesting mechanics, but I can't go too deeply in it. So I can't really. I don't think it's fair for me to really play. So I'd have to say I never played it, even though I did. Just not enough. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to put it in great because it's a great Mario game. It's not up there as my favorite, but it is another great Mario game, and that is what I look for. But
Yeah. I mean,
after
this is one.
GTA 4.
Yeah. I mean, this might be a bit of an issue in the sense that like you have continued to have like a Nintendo console and played a lot of the more recent, gone back and played a lot of the back catalog and new Nintendo games. But I've been stuck with Xbox for like the last 15 years and haven't really deviated from that. So
We'll cross those bridges when we get to them because up next it's Super Mario Galaxy 2, and I haven't played this. Simple as that. It's not been re-released on the Switch, so it came out in the Wii. I haven't played it. Simple as that.
yeah, and again, they're quite interesting to see both of them so high up back to back like that.
Yeah. Okay. Right now, I think this is where things get controversial. Because this is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, the most lauded Zelda game in a very, very long time that I have on my Switch. And I have started 3 or 4 times and tried my hardest to get into
Oh,
and
wow.
seriously struggled to get into this. I don't know what I'm missing here. And the problem is I'll get annoyed with it and be like, I'm not playing it anymore. And then a couple of months go by and I'm like, look, man, put the time into it. It's gonna get good. I'm constantly hearing it. The longer you spend with it, the more you'll enjoy it and stuff like that. And you just need to put the time into it. And then I put hours and hours, and I'll just feel like I'm doing nothing in that game. I'm doing nothing, and I can't progress, and I don't get it. And I'm like, all I kept thinking is it because it went open world? Can I not get along with it because it's gone open world and all that? I I I am missing something here, Liam. I am not getting it. And it drives me nuts because everyone says best Zelda game or up there is one of the best Zelda games ever. And all I'm thinking is, Why can't I get this? Why is it that I can't find myself enamored enough to stick with it? What is wrong? Like,
Mm.
I don't know what to say about this one.
That's obviously extremely controversial. I mean, I haven't played it obviously again for the reason that I don't have a Nintendo console, but I'm aware of how like adored this game is. But I've always envisioned myself having the same issue that you have basically. I think it is that I can see what they've done with this game. They've got taken Zelda, and even though we had Ocarina of Time, we've had other games that have been, open world and semi-open world and that kind of thing. But I think this just goes super open world, and that at this point for me is a little off-putting because I think that around the time period this game came out, that was and still is a big issue for me in many games that release these days is this obsession with open world.
Open
It's an
world.
obsession in gaming, and I think I can imagine having the same issue with you with this game, basically, in that it's just unnecessary to everything be open world. And yeah, so I can't comment on it. I haven't played it, but that's just maybe I'm completely wrong, and someone that's played it will put me right. But yeah,
I'm gonna put it in good because what there are elements I've enjoyed, and I still, I said I'm gonna do it one day, but I'm just gonna stick it in the middle in good because I don't dislike the game. I'm just not connecting with it on the way that everyone else is. Um,
mm.
but I hope to eventually, I guess.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Okay, back to more familiar territory then, as we're going all the way back to the year 2000, and in a surprisingly high position, it is Perfect Dark, which of course is a first-person shooter from Rare, the spiritual successor to GoldenEye, a fabulous game, a thoroughly enjoyable game that I really, really like, and it's very intrigued to see this remake, reimagining that's coming out in the future. I saw the trailer for it and got well confused because I was like, huh? That don't look like the Perfect Dark I know. But hey,
Mm.
I don't want to, I don't just want to re-release, I want a new idea. Um, but I'll be honest, this being higher than the other first-person shooter is a real surprise to me.
Yeah, I mean, I played this enough times when I was younger. I was fairly young when I had the chance to play this, and I always kind of I struggled with some of the systems in it, and I never really got fully into like the campaign and the story and all that kind of stuff. I kind of struggled with it because I loved one of the other games that I'm going to talk about that's probably on this list as well. That is very similar on the same console, and I loved that game. Then it came to this, and people would always talk about how the similarities and stuff, and there is similarities. I remember having a lot of fun in the multiplayer in this game, but I do think it's definitely rated a bit too highly for me. I mean, I think there's a bit of nostalgia love for this game, and I don't really have it. I would say so.
Where are we putting this? Good or great?
I mean,
Good?
yeah. I mean, personally, I never loved Perfect Dark. I'll be honest, but
Same? Same?
yeah. I mean, I always
Top of
thought it was a
good.
bit. Yeah, I put it into good. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Now, I know that this is a beloved game, but spoilers, folks. I have never played a single Tony Hawk's Skater game. I don't like that stuff.
Mm. Yeah, I mean the kind of games that I have at some point tried to play these skateboard games or these skating games, but I can never get the mechanics right. I don't really get what the obsession is. I didn't realize everybody out there was like some big like lover of skating and stuff like that. Apparently, I must have missed that because it seems like more of like a niche like interest. But these games are very highly loved. I'm aware of that. Never played it though.
Yeah, do you know what I often hear, though, about a lot of these Tony Hawk's games? People go, oh, yeah, but the soundtrack. There seems to be a lot of nostalgic love for the soundtrack.
Music, yeah. I mean, we all love nostalgic music, so I guess I can get that. There's probably a few games on here that I'll mention that too. So,
In the never played. Okay. Well, this is one we both played. In fact, I'm currently playing it non-stop at the moment in an attempt to try and clean it up as best as I possibly can, including doing things in it I never thought I'd do and sinking way too many hours in trying to find one fucking bird flying around the sky because Rockstar are dicks for that. However, it is to me one of the greatest games ever made. It is Red Dead Redemption 2. If you had said to me that it could be better than the original in every way, I'd have said, come on, man. I know they're good at what they do, and I'm sure it'll be a great game long term. Um, but they did it. I think it surpasses everything Rockstar have done in every single one of their games, including the Grand Theft Auto series and so on. I think it is not just a time sink, it's an interesting time sink, a creative world. But alongside all of that open world stuff and all the things you can do is one of the most impressive stories where you knew the events to a degree because they have to play out in a certain way, yet they still manage to make you give a shit. And that to me is stunning. To me, this is the best.
Yeah, I mentioned about the Ocarina of Time and how that's a game that no one would dispute being in this position. I think this is another one that no one would dispute. I can't believe it's not higher, basically, because I do think this is like the pinnacle of what gaming has achieved, in my opinion. I don't think we've had a game since. It's still like so impressive for a game that came out 6 years ago. It's unbelievable,
Yeah.
the detail level of detail in some of the mechanics and just the world. It feels like a real world. It feels like a real living world, the way it functions, and it's just it's so immersive. You know, you said the story's amazing. It goes in the best without a doubt.
Pour one
Yeah.
out for Arthur, folks. We all didn't want to play as him, but there you go. Oh, but above or below Zelda, Ocarina.
I'd put it above. That's my
Same.
personal opinion.
There it is.
Yeah,
I think the same as well. It is. It is. Glad
probably
you
not
said
fair
it.
to compare, I guess. You know, we're talking about an old game and newer game, but that's where it's going.
It is. It's our choice, which brings us to the next Rockstar big deal, and it's Grand Theft Auto 5. So much hype, but all that stuff comes with hype, and it certainly lived up to that hype. There's no question it lived up to it. At times, it's downright brilliant. It certainly is entertaining, and I played a lot of it, put a lot of time into it, but I've never gone back. Never gone back. And I think that's just because I don't really want to go back. Like, I don't really want to spend that much time in that world. And that kind of applies to all Grand Theft Autos to a degree. I do think it's a great game, but again, no Grand Theft Auto is what I would consider the best.
Well, I don't agree with that final statement, but I do agree that
Oh.
there is one Grand Theft Auto game that I think deserves being the best. But I completely agree. When I remember when this came out, and I bought it day one, and I absolutely played the shit out of it, and I loved every second of it. It's it blew me away with its technical upgrades from the previous Grand Theft Autos, and at the time it was like it felt like a truly like next gen game at the time when I think I played it on the Xbox 360 even. But yes, it's a weird one. Like you said, that I haven't actually had, even though I've had opportunities to go back and play it. Like I like the idea that you can play now in first person. It's had so many technical upgrades. I haven't actually gone back and played it still, even though I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why, but it is what it is. There are other Grand Theft Auto games that I've played throughout my life that I have gone back to, but this is one is I just don't know what it is. I just don't feel like going back to it.
We agree it's great though, yeah?
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So the question is, at the top of great is Grand Theft Auto 4.
That's really tough. I definitely love the story of four more than five. That's just my opinion. There are
Yeah,
great characters,
yeah.
but five has great characters too. But I think four's story is just hits more, it has more impact for me.
I weirdly remember more about Nico Bellic than I do about the others, Trevor, and so on.
There you go.
Okay, this list is weird because in number 11 is Metroid Prime, the GameCube first-person Metroid, which was a highly impressive and fun game. But really, I I find this quite a surprise because to me, it's just a good game.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean we had many GameCubes. I played a lot of GameCube games, but this wasn't one of them. I've never
Oh,
really played many. I might be wrong, but I may not have played a single Metroid game, which is probably controversial for somebody as into gaming as much as me. But yeah, just never really gravitated towards it. That nothing about it has grabbed me, or been like, I need to play that. I haven't heard any like. I know people love it, and I get really hyped about the new one that's coming out and stuff like that. But I never really heard like an argument for like why this is so great kind of thing, and that's convinced me.
okay, so I'll make the decision then. It goes in good at the bottom of good. I don't really get the hype for that at all. Don't feel bad about that though. It's weird like that sometimes. You know, the first Castlevania game I played was Lords of Shadow on the Xbox 360. You know, like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, it's back to Grand Theft Auto as we go to Grand Theft Auto 3. Now, oh man, this is a bit of annoying. I made a statement earlier on. I'm like, shit, should I have made it about this? Because I have to look at this from the change. So we have
Mm,
gone from Grand Theft Auto 2 to Grand Theft Auto 3. And we're not just talking about a shift here. We're talking about one of the most impressive shifts, technological advancements in games. Insane. Like you almost forget that we went from 2 to 3 and what a difference they are.
yeah,
It's
I don't
not
think.
my favorite
Yeah,
Grand Theft Auto though.
yeah, I mean, I don't think you can possibly explain nobody that unless you were there, you can't understand the up the upgrade from the previous Grand Theft Auto to this one. And I don't think I'm not sure we'll ever get the next gen upgrades from games like we used to get back then. I don't think it'll ever happen because games will just hit a point now where it's like mobile, it's like phones, like they're only very minimal improvements. But this was just such a monumental leap. You know, it deserves its position for that alone, and it is a really fun Grand Theft Auto game. I used to play it a hell of a lot as a kid and have a lot of fun with it, and had a really great soundtrack, and everything. So, but I don't. In terms of like great Grand Theft Auto games, it's down there. It's not up in like my top three. So it's I'd put it into is it I'd probably put it into good. I'm not sure it's a great in terms of Grand Theft Auto games. I don't think it's a great one.
I want to
Yeah.
save. We're going to end up with a lot of Grand Theft Autos and great, but we have two more 100% coming on this list, and they're worth discussion. Let's put Grand Theft Auto 3 in good, but at the top above Perfect Dark.
Yes.
Okay, Super Mario Odyssey. The last, yeah, this is the latest, the last full Mario game we've got. So before I go off on one here, I just need to check. Have you played this?
I do not have a Switch, so I have not played it.
Right, folks, here we go. I once said that there would never be a better Mario game than Super Mario 64. As great as every Mario games that came after were, and thoroughly enjoyed lots of them, Sunshine, and so on, I never thought Super Mario 64 could be topped. And then, of course, along comes Odyssey, and I'm like, sweet, well, I've got a Switch. I'm always going to pick up the first party games. Let me buy Odyssey and see what it is. Super Mario Odyssey is the best Mario game ever created, and that is my opinion. It is the best Mario game. It's the one I've enjoyed the most. Thorough fun, taking the formula, reworking it again in a clever, entertaining way, as they always do, but sticking to those tropes and ideas that just make the gameplay so much bloody fun. I love Odyssey. I absolutely adore it. I still go back every so often and jump into a level because I haven't collected all the moons. And I'm always like, oh, let's go back and get a couple more and dive back into it. It is the best Mario game overall, in my opinion. It is the best. It is up there. It's not above Zelda. It's not above Red Dead 2 because those are just icons. And I get Mario games, of course, personal taste. But to me, it's going in the best. It is that good.
I won't argue.
Don't. Right, go back to what is one of the most iconic games and franchises overall, but I have controversial opinions on it. It is Halo Combat Evolved, released in 2001, the Xbox flagship, and has continued to be for many years. Over the last, I'd say, couple of years, maybe a little bit longer. It has dipped in a lot of people's estimation with less than stellar games, confusions, and not so much great development and things like that, and a controversial TV show that we've covered on this website, me and Damon, but I personally really enjoy it. Here's the thing, folks. Halo came out when I wasn't playing games. I'd had a good few years where I wasn't really playing it, so I never played it. I would later come back to it and so on and go, huh? Don't really get the fuss. It is now a game that I now see people going really on nostalgia more than anything else. They remember a certain time in their life where they were playing the shit out of it, playing the shit out of multiplayer and so on and so forth. And I have played them all now, and I do think they're all really good games. I actually think Halo 3 is the absolute tits, more than any of the others. But going back to Halo, playing it, I just didn't really get it. I didn't really get the hype, if I'm honest. And that's kind of where I sit now. But I recognize why people love it, worship at the feet of Master Chief and Halo. And that's not meant to be an insult because we've all got those games. I worship at the feet of many others. I just went crazy over Super Mario Odyssey. So I totally understand why people feel that way. I just don't. I'm not a Halo fan. It's that.
Yeah, I mean, I have enjoyed many Halo games, and I actually think I'm not sure if Halo 2 is going to be on here, but I have a lot more nostalgia and love for that game than this one.
Mhm.
I think this is one of those games that like have aged really poorly, and that if it doesn't like some of the games on here are really older and similar time periods, and you can go back and play games that are much older, and I think they still hold up quite well. I'm not sure this one does particularly well. I think you had to be there kind of thing for the multiplayer and the LAN parties and shit like that, And I think, yeah, I think I appreciate it for what it is. I understand why people have that nostalgia for it, but I don't have that.
Are
So
we gonna be controversial? Put it in somewhere like good.
that'd be controversial to put it in good.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, because like if there are
I'm
some
basing it
crazy Halo people out there.
yeah, I'm basing on my opinion of having when I remember playing it, and I felt kind of mad about it. That's how I
Yeah,
felt. So
same.
it's just reality.
So what are you saying? Put it in meh.
I'm afraid so. That's just how I felt about it at the time, and I just don't
Shit.
think I don't think it holds up or has aged particularly well. I think it was a clunky game then, and it's got even clunkier as the decades have gone by. So
He has put a good argument forward. Folks, don't get mad. If you're a fan of it and you were around for it at the right time, I mean, lucky you. We weren't. We just didn't. I just didn't. Like I said, the first Halo game I played was Halo 3. Why I decided to play Halo 3 randomly, I do not know. But then it was only later on with the Master Chief Collection that I went back and played the others.
yeah,
Okay, I haven't played NFL 2K1. Have you?
haven't
It's randomly
haven't played it.
there.
I'm gonna can skip past that one, but must be a banger if it's up there.
It must be a good one, year 2000. Okay, Half-Life 2. Now, the actual collection is later in this list, so but I'll mention it now just because it's where I played them. So I never played any of the Half-Lives until I actually got the Orange Box. And that's why I played a lot of the games that you know are part of the Orange Box, and they're also in this list. So I would later play Half-Life 1 and 2 from the Orange Box. Similar to Halo, struggled to understand the hype. I enjoyed them. I did enjoy them. I really did. But I struggle, and even now I struggle when I sort of see people going nuts about like kind of adding Half-Life to the greatest games ever made or like not getting it finished or whatever. I'm always a bit like, why that one? Why that one more than anything else? So not a meh for me, but just kind of good. It was a good game. I enjoyed them. Enjoyed Half-Life 2.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it might be controversial, but I have not played Half-Life. I did own the Orange Box, but for some reason I just never got around to playing it. Maybe I started it and I just didn't immediately grab me or something like that. But so I can't really have much of an opinion. I'm aware of like the hype around it and people's desire for like but more Half-Life. But unless they re-release the games or something like that, I'm never gonna understand, unfortunately.
Okay, it's going in good, but I'll put it above Metroid because I definitely get more from Half-Life than Metroid Prime. Okay, one we are both very familiar with. It is the classic BioShock. I can't even remember what compelled me to ever pick this up back in the day. I guess it was just buying games when they were available, or being intrigued by the sort of basic spiel about underwater cities and all that. And from that has become an icon of a game franchise overall, but also a first game that when they re-released them, I picked them up just for the opportunity to play them again with fresh achievements, and I would do again in the future and so on. In fact, it's on the Switch, and I'm waiting for it to go on sale just because I really want to play BioShock handheld. Like sometimes that's why we buy games on the Switch, even though I own them or played them to death, just because I have the opportunity to play this at work. That is
Yeah,
awesome. BioShock's up there. It's got one of my favorite stories, my favorite twists, favorite styles of gameplay, favorite horror imagery with action. Yeah, okay, it does dip a little in the latter half, but I can forgive that because I still thoroughly enjoy every aspect of it. Um, it is the best.
yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite games. So I'm happy to put it straight into the best.
Right. It can't go above Red Dead, Zelda, or Mario, though. It can't. Sorry. Is it the
Well,
best, though?
yeah, I'll have to let that go, I suppose. But if it was me, I would put Red Dead, probably Red Dead 2, then BioShock. But that's just my opinion. Maybe that's bias. That's my bias. But it's
No, the
fine.
best
That's
is
no,
always one of those weird ones where there's really nothing better than the other because they're often wildly. I mean, look what we got there: Red Dead Redemption 2, Ocarina of Time, Super Mario Odyssey, and Bioshock. They're all quite different.
that's quite a variation.
Speaking of variation as well, we're now to GoldenEye 007, of course, the classic Nintendo 64 shooter. And here's the thing, when we talk about Halo and nostalgia, that's what a lot of happens with GoldenEye for me more than anything else. Obviously, it got a re-release on modern console recently, and spoilers, that shit is not aging well at all either. It's still a lot of fun to play at times, and I do appreciate having smoother and better controls than that god-awful Nintendo 64 monstrosity. But it's not aging well, and of course, the nostalgic love is going to override a lot of my feelings for this. But I still think, even playing it now, it's a really well-made game with a really clever system of difficulties and different mission parameters and how that varies things up and all of that. It can be still a lot of fun to play and still quite challenging at times. I don't think I'm never not going to look at this game and go, I love that, just for nostalgia more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I'll to say something in the defense of Halo. I said how you had to kind of be there to understand the love of that game. I think this is the exact same thing. You had to be there. It was a different time. The local multiplayer and stuff like that. This was just like revolutionary at the time, and anyone that played that, they're gonna have love for this game. There's a lot of nostalgia surrounding it. I do agree that it's obviously aged poorly now, the character models and whatnot, but I do think, like you said, it's still actually a lot of fun playing through the campaign and stuff like that. I think it holds up decently well in that regard in terms of being fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm still it's gonna go in. It's got to go in the best because it similarly to it's just so revolutionary for the time. It just changed gaming. I do think this game, which is kind of random. It's like one of those ones where it's like, how did that happen? How did a James Bond get game? How did that happen?
The 90s people, when a company called Rare were untouchable.
That's what it was.
Untouchable. Yes. Look, this is a nostalgia choice. It is our tier list. You may not agree, but nostalgia is a heavy one for us to GoldenEye. We have a lot of it for this. So, yep, top. But the question is, above or below Bioshock? Below.
Below.
Yeah, below. Okay, Uncharted 2. I played one Uncharted game and it was on the PSP, and it wasn't Uncharted 2.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played Uncharted, unfortunately. I had a PlayStation 3, but I didn't get around to Uncharted, sadly.
Nope, same here. But back to one we are very familiar with. That is Resident Evil 4, released in 2005 as part of that GameCube exclusive Resident Evil series. Many, many re-releases later, including a very, very impressive remake in recent time. But we are talking about the classic Resident Evil 4 here. And my God, what a game. Here's the thing, they needed to change the formula. They knew they had to change the formula up, and they went balls to the wall for it, creating not just a fun, intense, but groundbreaking over the shoulder action based shooter with horror elements. Madness, weird, wacky, wonderful. It set the formula for many Resident Evils to come until again they ran out of steam with that and had to change the formula again with the modern Resident Evils. And no doubt that same thing will happen. It's just part of the cycle. But as a starting point, as a game changing, we look at Resident Evils, we go 1, 2, as such game changes, even though they're cut from the same cloth. Then you had the sideways ones, your 3s, your Code Veronicas, and all good games as well himself. 4 was a franchise rebirth, and I have so much love for this game. I suspect, even though I rated the remake very highly, I suspect in years to come down the line, when I think about Resident Evil 4, I will still think about this version.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible game, and I've just recently played through the remake multiple times, trying to get all the achievements. And then I was thinking actually this might be a game that I played possibly like fully through the story more than maybe any, because like
Yeah.
the amount of obviously from the original release from the GameCube to then the HD re-releases, and now we've got the remake, and I played through that each of those games like multiple times. So I played this game to death really, and I think that just says it all. I think it's an incredible game. Love it. Yeah.
The best, yeah?
Yes.
Question is, do we put it above or below GoldenEye?
It's
Above,
above
in
Golden.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Above
Yeah.
Bioshock?
I wouldn't personally. That's my personal opinion. But
I'm happy for it to sit in the best alongside Bioshock. It is that good of a game.
the one,
Baldur's Gate
the one
3. Sorry.
one thing I'd quickly put in there, I do think that this game gets a little bit of a free pass from people that like criticize five. I think it has it's actually very similar to five in a lot of its elements, and I think people hate on five quite a lot. But four did a lot of similar stuff, and I think that's a bit of a dodgy thing there.
I do. People often blame 5 as the first direction of Resident Evil become more action orientated, and they're ignoring 4 completely on that. Let's be serious here, people. 4 is a very action-based game. Yes, it's got more horror elements, but let's be serious here. It was, I mean, good God, think about some of the elements you're doing in that. You were getting chased by a giant stone golem at one point. You know, like quick time events.
I think it comes down to the setting. The settings.
Mm.
4 has a more horror orientated setting, whereas 5 is in the bright sun and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3. This is, of course, the latest Baldur's Gate. It is on my playlist, folks. I haven't played it as of yet, and that's purely time-based more than anything else. I know it's a huge investment. I do want to play it, and I know I'm going to love it. I just need to get there.
Exactly the same. It's on my list. I can't wait to get around to playing it because I know I'm gonna love it, like you said. But it's not got there yet.
Yep, so it's never played. The Orange Box. So I'm just going to quickly sum this one up because you haven't done it. This, of course, has Half-Life 2, Episodes 1 and 2, Team Fortress 2, and Portal. It was my introduction to all of these games. And I actually spent a lot of time in Team Fortress 2 and had a lot of fun. That is a fun multiplayer game. Obviously, Half-Life 2, Part 1 and 2, the episodes, was where I first played those games. But the reason why I rate the Orange Box highly and why it's going to go top of good is because of Portal. It
Hmm.
was my introduction to Portal, and Portal 2 are fabulous games in my opinion. And that alone, the fact that you had this collection that included the 2 episodes of Half-Life 2, Team Fortress, and Portal together in one pack, that's a good game.
I mean, I can't imagine getting something similar like that these days, where you get like a package of so many great games in one. But yeah, haven't played it.
It is in the goods. Okay, Tekken 3, fighting game. Got to it quite late. It's the first Tekken game I ever played because we were still sort of hanging around the Saturn then, kicking ass with virtual fighters and street fighters and things like that. So along comes Tekken 3, we get a PlayStation. You hear good things about how it is, and what actually was, to me, still up there as one of the best fighting games ever made. For balanced characters, for action, for fun. Tekken 3 is a great fighting game, and I don't rate fighting games highly for the most part. I don't really enjoy that type of game. But if you're saying to me, Carl, name me some of the top fighting games, I'm going to say Tekken 3 each time.
Yeah, I mean, earlier I mentioned about how I was surprised Soul Calibur was so high, and when I was talking about another game that I thought deserved to be higher, it was this one because I absolutely love Tekken 3. I played the shit out of it back in the day. It's a super nostalgic game for me. It was a great fighting game, had a really fun story and campaign and everything, and it great stuff. You know, I can't say, like you said, if you're going to talk about the best fighting games, it should be up there. So
It is. Uh, in great, not the best, right?
I put it in great because it is still a fighting game at the end of the day.
Which to me is the reason why it goes at the bottom of great. It can't go ahead of Grand Theft Auto 4, 5, or Super Mario Galaxy. You know what? Actually, I'm going to put it ahead of Galaxy, actually, just because Odyssey's already high up. We don't need another Mario game there.
No.
Mass Effect 2, the 24th best game. It might be weird thinking, why the second one and not the first game? It's because the second one, folks, took everything the first game did, removed all the things people didn't like about it, Mako, all of that nonsense, and then just improved it. It has one of the most spectacular, still today, I think one of the best introductions to a video game ever fucking made in Mass Effect 2, and then starts a very familiar, continuing the gameplay aspects of 1, but removing so much of the bad shit and just improving on every aspect, but creating and building upon the story in a much more epic fashion. It is, I would put all the Mass Effects up quite highly. I would. But if you were saying to me, Carl, what is the best Mass Effect game? It's 2, no question.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. I remember that opening segment. I remember that forever, and I remember when it
Yeah.
happened. And we were talking about it. Like, have you played that? It's like incredible and stuff like that. And obviously the final mission, and it's just there's so many. Like you said, it just took everything from the first game. It like there was some clunky elements to the first game, and it's really refined it all to perfection. So
Yeah.
I think it's deserving of its place.
Where do we put it in the best, though? Above GoldenEye?
Yes.
Above Resident Evil 4?
Probably not. Probably
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, this next one, I have never even heard of this game. let alone played it. The House in Fata Morgana Dreams of the Revenant Edition, released on a Switch in 2001. I've never even heard of this. I might have to look at this because it's on a Switch. Have you heard of this?
No, I have not. So it's quite surprising to see something I haven't heard of at all. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, okay. But I have heard of Elden Ring. Okay. Look, I'm one of those people. It is everything everybody says about it. I'm surprised it's not higher up, but then maybe because it's still quite new in 2022, it's going to get higher reviews as it goes on. But then it's From Software, and there are many people that hate what From Software do and their styles of games. If you play the Dark Souls games, you'll be familiar with elements of Elden Ring, except this is bigger, grander, crazier, brilliant. It is. My current hour count of that is around 165 hours, and I'm currently working my way through the recent DLC, which is its own game as well. Like, that's how crazy that is. I fucking love this. I love Dark Souls, but I love Elden Ring more. This isn't just the best. This is a near the top of the best, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I can say simply that I have not played it, and I'm not sure why, but actually I do know why, and the reason is because much like Dark Souls at the time when Dark Souls was at its height, those games are rarely ever like discounted or on sale. They're always like top dollar to pay for them, and I'm a bit of a cheapskate in that regard. But I have played like so many Souls like games, but I haven't played the ones that I considered like the pinnacle of that genre, which is quite strange, really. But like I said, I think it's simply because these games are never on sale. They never come to Game Pass or anything like that. So I'd have to actually spend money to play them, and like I don't like doing that. Yeah.
You haven't played it, fair enough. Right. This isn't going to go. This isn't going to top Red Dead Redemption 2 because obviously Elden Ring as a story perhaps isn't, with a From Software game, it can very complex, very layered and stuff like that. I don't think it necessarily grabs me in the same way. So I'm going to put it below Red Dead Redemption 2, but it's going above Zelda. It's going that high. It is that good of a game. Yeah. When you eventually get to it, you'll recognize.
I do want to, and I will.
But then alongside that, Jesus Christ, these games are big and huge and important. It's Skyrim, The Elder Scrolls Skyrim, 5 Skyrim. Uh, we expected big things, but I don't think we could have expected this level of size and imagination and creativity following Oblivion. The step up is immense. It is still a stunning game. It's the game I've sunk the most hours into to date. I was in the 200s with that game. Yeah, all the hype and all the awards and all of that. I'm actually surprised it's not higher up, to be fair, in this list. But
Yeah.
all the hype, all the awards, it's all deserved.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games that I would call it's almost like a comfort game to me. Like sometimes I will just like want to just roam around in the world in River Run, and just like chill in the world and listen to the music play in the background. It's got an incredible soundtrack, and it again is one of those games that just was like revolutionary. The step up from Oblivion, it was just crazy at the time. You had to be there again, but it's been like ported now. You can play it in all sorts of different ways, and it's worth playing without a doubt. If you enjoy big open world RPG, this is like the pinnacle. It's right up there.
Is this top above Red Dead 2?
Oh, you know, I
Because
think
I'd
it
put it up
might
above
be.
Elden Ring.
I think it might go above it. I just think like maybe I think there's nostalgia does come into it a little bit. This is a game I played when I was in my youth, I suppose. So that maybe comes into it a little bit. I think it's very hard to compare them, but
I think
because
it goes
obviously
top.
I think I'd have to put it in there. Of course, it had a lot of issues as well when it released, but yeah.
It's that good. It is that good. Oh, okay. Half-Life. Similar to Half-Life 2, just going to quickly gloss over this. Obviously played it much later on. Didn't get the hype. Particularly enjoyed Half-Life 2 more. I'm going to put it alongside Half-Life 2, but after it.
Again, have not played it.
There it is. I haven't played this yet. It's Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. It's the most recent Zelda game, continuing what I understand is the formula from Breath of the Wild, which is very worrisome for me. Because like, oh God, that means I'm going to struggle to get into this one as well.
What do you mean you haven't got 300 hours to spare to sink into both those games?
I know. Unfortunately, it's never played. Here's the thing. I own it though. I do
Oh,
own
you
it
do.
because I picked it up at the same time as I picked up Luigi's Mansion 2 HD because I
Mm.
want to have it. That way it guarantees I should get to it at some point.
That's a nice way of doing it.
Sticking with Zelda, it's Wind Waker. I'm really surprised to see this in the top 50 because I remember there being a shit ton of controversy, not just how it looked, but just generally how people kind of perceived that at the time as being a more kiddified Zelda following Ocarina and Majora's Mask. So it's quite surprising to see this, and I'm glad it is because once you played it, most people found a generally brilliant Zelda game that again saw them think outside the box, change up the formula, and create a clever, interesting take while continuing an overarching world building story. Wind Waker, weirdly, has one of my favorite moments in all Zelda games. That's how impactful
Mm.
this is. I love Wind Waker. I don't think it's the best. I think it's a great Zelda game.
Yeah, I only played this game. I did not, having completed or nothing. It wasn't something that I played much of, and that's because around the time this released, I started transitioning into playing PlayStation 2 more, and
Yep.
when I moved away from GameCube a little bit, PlayStation 2 and Xbox became my main consoles. So I didn't really play that much, and yeah, I'm surprised to see it so high. I do wonder if it's the massive fans of the game review bombing or something like that. I'm not sure. This is all based on critics, though, isn't it? These rankings, so it's quite interesting. But it's often the case that sometimes games that are really critically well received and not necessarily the people audience like on Rotten Tomatoes or something. Maybe that's the case. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I'm going to put it in great, but bottom of great alongside Galaxy. Okay, Gran Turismo. Straight up, folks, I don't care for these games, and it's simply because my favorite types of racing games tend to be more arcadey. I enjoy certain sort of things, but I enjoy Ridge Racer, but I enjoy a more arcade style of it. I enjoy a little bit more action stuff like that. The super serious car stuff. Aside from Forza, actually, I'll give Forza a little bit of a go here because I do enjoy Forza games. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's being older age. But back then, when Gran Turismo first came out, I had no interest in this. I was playing Ridge Racer.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy a racing game, but I have not played a Gran Turismo, so I can't have really any comments on it.
I have played it, but I didn't put much time into it. So I'm going to put it in never played because I don't think I've got that strong of an opinion on it. Okay. I think this is controversial as well. I don't think this game should be in the top 50. I think the first game should be.
Mm.
It's Metal
Yeah,
Gear
I mean,
Solid 2, Sons of Liberty.
I don't disagree. I do believe the first one should be higher, but I love Sons of Liberty, a game that I played a lot of growing up, and again, like many of the games we've spoken about up to this point, it was an insanely massive, huge leap forward from the previous game, and it tells an incredible story. What you're getting with Metal Gear Solid. You're getting a lot of like political stuff, and it definitely delves into that, but it's very interesting and intricate. All the new elements introduced. I played it to death, so I do think it's worthy of being on this list. But I do agree that maybe the first, I guess, hasn't aged particularly well. Yeah.
It is a great game. I'm not stupid here. I thoroughly enjoy it. I really fucking do it. It really is. I'm not sort of trying to run down Sons of Liberty. It belongs in great. It really does. Just depends how high we put it because we got Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 at the top two. Is it up there with them or below them?
I put it above them
Same.
personally.
Okay. Yep. Cool. I agree. I agree. Right, random one, Grand Theft Auto Double Pack, which is Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City combined. I guess I don't. Here's the thing: is I don't want to say too much about this because we've already done three, and Vice City is coming up. This is just a pack that includes two, which I suppose is a cool thing in itself. But I think this belongs in never played just because it's a double pack that I've never, you know what I mean? Like,
I own the double pack, but we can put it in never played. But yeah, I do think that's a bit of a flaw in the system in terms of having that in there, and also having half. You've got the orange box and then Half-Life 2 and Half-Life and stuff. It's like, yeah, maybe could like separate them a little bit and not have them both there. But there you go.
it is a flaw in the system, so I'll put it never play because I do want to talk about Vice City separately. This one, though, does work because this is Portal Companion Collection released on the Switch, which I didn't know was the case. And although I've talked about Portal before, it was part of the Orange Box. I get to talk about it now, but I also get to talk about its sequel, Portal 2. Look, I love Portal games. Um, At first, I was like, what the hell am I playing this weird puzzle game for? And then the realization that there was a big story going on here and how that plays out in Portal was fabulous. How they topped that in Portal 2 blew my mind. Portal 2, I have in my head like a top 10 of endings. Portal 2's ending is one of my all-time favorite endings. That's how much I love these. I think these are not the best because they're still puzzle games and each to our own, but they're up there as great fucking games.
Yeah, I mean, um, I completely agree with what you basically have said. Portal 2 is a game I hold in like really high regard. I still don't really understand how the mechanics in those games work, portal guns and stuff like that. But it works so flawlessly. You know, it's one of those things where you'd expect lots of bugs and glitches and stuff like that, but it works so well. And I'm really surprised that we've never seen any kind of talk about like a re-release or like a remake kind of thing with like modern graphics on modern consoles. Do you think that, you know, something that's held
Mm.
in such high regard by most people that have played it? Yeah, so I think it's worthy of being up there.
We'll put it in great, but we'll put it at the end because it is just two games combined and it is a puzzle game. Baldur's Gate 2, I've never played it.
No, I haven't.
Okay, and now we reach our next set of Grand Theft Auto games, but they are both here, so this is where things get interesting because we're going to start off with San Andreas, and I am about to hit controversial land again. Sorry, folks. This to me is the most overrated Grand Theft Auto game to date. I struggle to understand why this is often lauded to a lot of people as the best Grand Theft Auto game. It is a great game, a great Grand Theft Auto game that's fun, it's interesting, does lots of its own unique stuff and has its own identity, which I think is really important for these games that sort of sit along the Grand Theft Auto 3 layered, where they were using the same graphical engine and graphics and stuff like that. However, I just think it's a great Grand Theft Auto game. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I have huge nostalgia attached to this game, but I do agree. I kind of like, even though I really enjoy it and love it and stuff, and there's new things introduced, like being able to fly planes and jetpacks and that kind of stuff. And like you said, it tells its own unique story that is very, you know, really separates it from the pack, I do think. But and it's got a lot of great moments, fun missions, fun characters, and everything like that. But I do think it's a bit overhyped. I do.
We both agree it goes in great. The question is how high. I mean, does it go above the other Grand Theft Autos, 4 and 5?
Not for me.
Tekken
I mean,
3?
I guess it could go above five, possibly. It could go above five, possibly. Just because I have played this game, I've gone back and played it. Like when it was re-released, I wanted to go back and play it, but like we said, Grand Theft Auto 5, we haven't had that desire, so that's got to say something, you know.
I did the same. I actually did the same. So I think we've got it there. I think, yeah, below 4, but above 5. I think you're right.
Yes.
And that brings us to Vice City. Folks, I am going to be straight up about this, but also explain and understand why I can't go in the best. I want to put this in the best because this is my favorite Grand Theft Auto game. It's the one I have the most nostalgic love for. It's the one I've spent the most time with. I loved the setting. I love the missions. I loved everything about this, the soundtrack and so on. It is my favorite Grand Theft Auto game. However, I can't criticize San Andreas for and not criticize Vice City for the same thing. It is still Grand Theft Auto 3 reskinned and possibly more than San Andreas because it doesn't necessarily have to say the most unique value compared to San Andreas. So I'm more than happy for it to sit alongside San Andreas, maybe after, and that's me stepping back and like shaking my head and letting the nostalgic love I've got for it go.
Yeah, I mean, I played this and three recently on the re-release versions, and
Oof,
it hasn't aged that great. I actually think maybe San Andreas has aged a little better than Vice City because
I
Vice
think
City,
so.
yeah. So that's quite interesting. Even though I love Vice City, it is my favorite Grand Theft Auto game. I have an insane. There's a few games on this earth that I have as much nostalgia for than Vice City. I love the 80s setting, the music. Just it's incredible. It was incredible at the time, but like you said, when you take off the nostalgia goggles, like you said, three and Vice City, there isn't too much to differentiate between the two in terms of the mechanics and the new things it introduced. Whereas San Andreas did introduce new things, yeah, a lot of new stuff. So as much as in my heart, it's the best. But with the head, I don't think it goes there. Yeah.
I think, yeah, so put it off the San Andreas, but in great. Everything said there, yeah. Okay, we're up to Little Big Planet, and I have played this, and I think it's a good game. I think it's a fun little game. I played it on the PSP, didn't really get too into it, but a good little fun platformer.
Same, I played a little bit on the PS3 of this and on the PSP, and yeah, it's a fun little kids platformer. Kind of reminds me of the like Rayman games, like Rayman Legends, that type of stuff. And it's I enjoy colorful platformers, but I can't say I played enough of it, I guess, to really have a huge opinion on it. But yeah,
Let's put
we'll
it in
go into
good.
it. Good, yeah,
Okay, we've reached one of these collection ones again, folks. And this is an interesting one because it is the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition, which of course include several classic games, of course, as well as the Master Quest, which is the reworked Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. This is hard because in theory, this should go top and go above Ocarina of Time because not only included Ocarina of Time, it had classic games, Zelda games as well, but it included the Master's Quest, which of course was a reworked version of Ocarina of Time, which for someone that played to death Ocarina of Time was interesting as well. But I kind of want to be a bit harsh here and say, no, you're a collection. No, you don't get to go above the originals and stuff like that.
yeah. I mean, if it was up to me, I would say to just discount collections entirely because it's not really fair to rate one game against as many that are in the collection.
Okay, right, let's do that. Let's do this with the Zelda one then and put it in never played. Just even though we have played it, it was on the GameCube. It's so separate, it doesn't, yeah, I think that's fair. Gran Turismo 3, never played it. I have no idea if it's good or not.
Same.
And surprisingly, and I guess this is the modern state of this list as well, it's Shadow of the Erd Tree, which is the Elden Ring DLC. Although, like I said, and everybody's acknowledged, it's its own game. It's its own game. This is why it's being here. Look, this is a difficult one. I can't really say too much at this stage because I'm only like a quarter of the way through it. I killed some bosses and then got fucked up by one non-stop, and I've not gone back to it yet. I will, because you know how it goes in this game. It's more Elden Ring, new world, new areas, new bosses, new things going on. So naturally, it's going to be high. But I've not finished it, so I'm going to put this and never played on the basis that I can't fully judge it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played it, so can't add much.
And then it's Halo 2. And you did mention this before about having a lot of nostalgia. So I'll let you take this one away because you definitely have a bit more about this than I do.
Well, I mean, like I do think this was a huge step up from Halo 1. I think this has aged a lot better. And yeah, I just got a lot of nostalgia from having the original Xbox and having this game, playing it lots and lots and having a lot of fun with it. There's not really, I haven't got much else to say about it than that, but I remember really enjoying it. And I haven't, I've played it on the Master Chief Collection. I do, like I said, I think it has aged a bit better than the first game. I think this is the far superior game, so in my opinion, it should be probably higher than Combat Evolved. But
Well,
yeah,
Combat Evolved isn't meh, so it can certainly go higher than that.
the Metacritic list in itself. But I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
again,
okay.
I mean, it's of course people put the originals more likely to be higher, but yeah, I'd probably put it if I was going to choose a position to put it in. I, I'd put it into great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's how high. I think great is fair, but okay, so we got Metal Gear Solid 2.
no,
Yep. Grand Theft Auto 4, San Andreas, Vice City, and 5.
I put it maybe higher than five, but not the others.
I'll go with you on that. I would have put it lower, but I think you know what? It's Halo 2. Why not? Okay. The best Zelda game ever made. It's The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. That is, of course, just my opinion. Now, here's the thing. Again, I'm going to take my head for shit a little bit here. It is, of course, basically using the engine, all the things from Ocarina of Time, character designs, and all of that. The reason why I love this game so much is because it gave me a darker, deeper story that really, really affected me and I thought was spectacularly told and how it plays out. I love the extra elements to it that come with it. I ended up absolutely loving the time system. Even though I understand why people find that frustrating and all that, I loved it because it refreshed the gameplay. I adore Majora's Mask's story as much as anything else, more than Ocarina of Time. It is a very special game in my heart, but I recognize that it couldn't exist if Ocarina of Time didn't.
Yeah, I mean that's true, and I'm an Ocarina of Time guy, like purely. So, um, I played Majora's Mask back in the day a long time ago, so my memories of it, are quite faint. But I'm aware of like the love for it and the system in it and stuff like that. It was very unique for the time. But I can't lie in saying that I struggled at the time, at least when it came out. I was fairly young to actually like get into it because it's quite difficult, the whole time limit and stuff like that. So maybe it just was the wrong time period for me to like have to tackle that challenge kind of thing. I found Ocarina of Time far more accessible than this game, basically. So that's
I
just my
get that.
my
No, you're absolutely right. Accessibility is an issue. I completely understand. Those first fucking hour, 2 hours of gameplay, I'd imagine is where people struggle the most getting their head around it. I recognize that. It's going in the best, but I'm going to put it at the very end of it because I don't want to let my nostalgia blind me too much in this one.
Yep, cool.
Okay, we've got a few more, and we're up to what are we up to? The Legend of Zelda Four Swords, a Game Boy Advance game. I never played it.
I have not either.
And
A lot
that
of
brings
Zelda
us
on
to
this
there are,
list.
yes, but it's the franchise, isn't it? The Last of Us. Okay,
Hmm.
then. Yes, yes. I mean, yeah. I'm surprised it's not higher. And I do wonder if that's maybe people later coming to it and be like, no, gonna say I don't like it because of the TV show or whatever and stuff like that. It's an amazing game. It's an amazing story. It's highly impressive, even though it isn't necessarily doing anything original. It's still taking all those aspects and going, this is how we're going to do it. And I think that matters. I think everyone that's played it, I think it's one of those that, yeah, lives up to the hype. And I think it's aging well as well.
Yeah, I think it is very highly regarded, and I agree. I think it's probably a bit too low on the list, but I think it's deserving of everything people say about it. I think it is an incredible game. Yeah, what more is there to say?
How high up in the best, though? I mean, let me choose a spot. Do we think it's better than Bioshock? No, we don't. No, we don't.
I don't think that, but nostalgia.
Resident Evil 4? Nah, I prefer Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I prefer four.
Resident Evil, sorry, Mass Effect 2?
I mean, it's about personal preference, isn't it? Or like,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't put it above the personal preference. I mean, that's just my.
GoldenEye?
I mean, I'll probably put it above GoldenEye,
There
to
we
be
go
fair.
then. We got a
Yeah.
spot. Okay, another Zelda game. It's The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Look, this was released in the Wii, so I never played it. However, I'm pretty sure, is it this or Skyward Sword? One of those two from that era got a HD re-release on the Switch. I do plan to one day pick it up and play it because I've heard great things about these games, but I've never played it.
Yeah, this was just during a time period, but like I said, I drifted away from the Nintendo consoles, from the Wii and stuff like that, so I didn't get around to playing it, unfortunately.
Okay. Oh God, Madden NFL. Which one is that? Madden NFL. Which one? 2003. Never played it.
No, I have not played it. Not big NFL fan.
Same, not a big MF either. Then we've got Persona 5 Royal. I've heard of the
Hmm.
Persona games. I've not played any.
Yeah, I mean they're a massive JRPG franchise. I know there's obviously it's like Final Fantasy. It's like a huge fan base, and it's something I'd love to get into. But they look super talky. Like if you're not into like the JRPGs, they can get very heavy in the dialogue and things like that. There's quite a few of those, in like. So I'd love to get into it at some point, but it's just one of those like time sink type things, and there's so many of them. It's hard to like find like an entry point.
Two more. We've got The Last of Us Part 2. I haven't played it.
I mean, I don't have a PS4, unfortunately. I'd love to play it. I do want to, but I don't have the console. There's no other reason I haven't played it other than that.
Yep, I've not played it either. And that brings us lastly to the original Red Dead Redemption. It's unlucky. This would have been up there as one of the top games, but along came Red Dead Redemption 2 to kind of break the system. But I do not want to understate how brilliant the original Red Dead Redemption is. It is a stunner of a release. It blew my mind back in the day. I sunk a shit ton of hours into it. All the DLCs, had so much fun, and I still consider that ending one of the best video game endings I'd ever experienced. Even still better than this, probably still better than Red Dead 2's ending as well. Yeah, not much else to say than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fun game. I love the setting and stuff was really like felt really unique and fresh for the at the time. And yeah, I mean, what can you say about that ending? It's an emotional punch. John Marston's such a great character, and it was very brave to put that in there. I thought for them, and it worked. So yeah, it's deserving of its
The
place.
best.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that is it. That's all 50 of them ranked as of right now. So what do you reckon? We've gone pretty long down. We've gone pretty hard. Do you agree with some of our choices? Bear in mind, a lot of it is personal based more than anything else. You know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.